Hello, everyone. It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com coming to you on Wednesday, March 27th. Hope you're having a good week. Alabama just held their sixth practice of the spring season. Nick Saban spoke on Tuesday night. You can catch the recap of that on BamaInsider.com or go to our YouTube channel and simply search the Nick Saban Press Conference. He had some interesting things to say last night. He spoke about Terrell Lewis. He spoke about Anoma. Spoke about the leadership, the depth of the team. Spoke about a variety of subjects, including Avery Johnson and the leadership of the University of Alabama. And I want to start out the podcast this morning with Nick Saban talking about Terrell Lewis and where things stand with him. Remember, Terrell Lewis missed the 2018 season with the ACL tear. Here's Saban on Tuesday night.
You saw that Terrell Lewis is dressed out there, not doing much. We cleaned his knee up. Doc wanted to do something to it, and as a precautionary thing, he'll be very, very limited all spring long. I think our goal is to get him ready for the summer, keep on pushing him so that he'll be ready for the fall. We got a couple other guys that might miss practice for a day or something that don't really have any significant injuries, and we're not going to give you an injury report every time we have a press conference. So.
That was Saban on Tuesday night talking about Terrell Lewis, who will likely be out the rest of spring ball. Now, I mean, this young man continues to battle injuries every single year for the last 3 seasons now, and it's pretty perplexing, and it's really unfortunate because when you talk about a player like Terrell Lewis and you look at his physical features, you look at his athleticism, clearly this is a prospect that it looks to be a guy that could be Alabama's next big-time pass rusher. It looks to be a guy that could be a first-round draft pick with the amount of talent that he has. But, the injuries. Rewind to the 2017 season when he injured his body with an upper bicep injury. Held him out most of the season. Yeah, he did come back towards the later end to help Alabama reel in the national championship, but he missed most of the season. And then last season, before the season even started, dealt with this ACL. And now we're in the spring season of 2019, still dealing with the ACL. Very unfortunate because Terrell Lewis is a guy who would do an incredible amount for Alabama getting after the quarterback. Now, Saban also mentioned some very positive news on Anoma. Anoma, now a sophomore here at Alabama, entered the transfer portal for one day. Nick Saban flipped him out of the transfer portal, if you remember. That was back on National Signing Day. Probably Nick Saban's biggest land of the signing class was recommitting Anoma, if that makes sense. He had some very positive and uplifting things to say about the sophomore. And I've been out there at practice, and every opportunity that I've had to see Anoma, I completely agree with Saban. The kid looks like he's really responding well to new outside linebackers coach Sal Sinceri. And we'll talk more about Sal Sinceri here in a second. But here's Nick Saban talking about Anoma on Tuesday night.
You talked with Anoma in the offseason. Just how much growth have you seen from him both on and off the field?
He's doing a good job. He's working hard. He's learning a lot. I think he's responding very well to Sal coaching him. He's doing much better in school. Been really responsible to try to do the right things and respond to people the right way. And he's certainly making a very positive contribution to the defense. And I certainly think that's our expectation for him. And if he continues this way, I'm sure he's going to make a huge impact.
I thought those were great comments from Saban regarding Anoma. When you have a player like Terrell Lewis who continues to have these off the field or these lingering issues, I thought those were great comments from Nick Saban regarding Anoma. And I think reading between the lines, he's saying that, look, Terrell Lewis might be injured as our edge rusher, but we got a young man by the name of Anoma who's making progress, making strides, who can fill that void and really step up during a sophomore season. Saban also commented on Tuesday night, and I thought it almost turned into a Nick Saban rant when he talked about pass protection, when he talked about keeping to it upright, and he talked a lot about Tua making decisions to get the ball out quicker. And, some of the plays last season when Tua went down weren't necessarily on the offensive line. Those were plays that Tua should have got the ball out quicker, and that they can't completely control pass rush. Then he started to talk about the safety of college football. It was good stuff. Let me get that for you.
Maybe reduce the exposure he might have to pressure and outside scrambles.
No. I mean, we can 7-man protect every time and send 3 guys out so they could double cover them all right? But, to me, it's the responsibility of the quarterback sometimes to protect himself. We have to get 5 guys out in pass patterns and have 5-man protection. We have 6-man protection. We have 7-man protection. We move the pocket. And we're going to do the things that we think that we need to do to help our team win and help Tua be successful. There's sometimes you got to know when to throw the ball away. When things break down, you can't make a play out of every play. You got to be smart about that. We don't have a lot of design runs for the quarterback. We never have had for Tua, but, I don't think we can take his competitive ability to run and scramble and make a first down in a critical part of the game because I don't know why. I don't think football is a dangerous game. All right, so I coach safety in every position with every player. I don't know how we can adapt our schemes so that we could guarantee the quarterback's never going to get hit. So I think they've been trying to do that for years and years and years in the NFL until they changed all the rules. Nobody could ever figure it out. So for you to expect me to be able to figure it out, I appreciate your confidence, but I'm not capable.
Nick Saban bringing a little fire in the springtime. Still waiting for that Nick Saban rant. Thanks again for listening, everyone. This is Kyle Henderson on the BamaInsider.com podcast. We do it on YouTube. We like to throw our stuff on YouTube. We know it's easy for you to access and easy for you to listen, watch, whatever. So thank you for subscribing, and please continue to click the thumbs up. All the coverage back on BamaInsider.com. Andrew Bone, who's actually getting married this Saturday. Congratulations to him. He's been turning it up on the recruiting scene. Those early recruiting updates, I know a lot of people curious about the next wave of 2020, so be sure and go to BamaInsider.com for that. And Tony Tsoukalis, continues to pump out the stories team-wise. So if you want the team news, you want the recruiting news, head on over to BamaInsider.com. If you're curious to get behind that paywall, as I always mention, get those team nuggets, those exclusive recruiting nuggets. Promo code at checkout is simply Roll Tide. My name is Kyle Henderson, managing editor at BamaInsider.com. We also added Mike Johnson to the staff, this springtime, who's been our football analyst, and he continues to provide some killer breakdowns on Alabama football, and had some great stuff to say about the linebackers, and I'll play that here in just a minute. But we're continuing to break down Nick Saban's press conference from Tuesday night. As you know, on Monday, March 25th, Alabama Athletic Director Greg Byrne announced that Alabama and Avery Johnson are parting ways. Nick Saban was asked about Avery Johnson Tuesday night. Here's what Nick Saban had to say regarding Alabama's movement towards a new basketball coach.
Coach, basketball's in the news, of course, with Coach Johnson leaving and looking for a new one. I wonder how important it is to you as a football coach to have excellence in basketball and all other sports.
Look, I love Avery. I think he's a great guy. We had a great relationship here. We tried to help him every way that we could in recruiting or whenever we can, and we certainly wish him and his family, the very best. I also have confidence in our leadership here that, they're going to make good choices and decisions about who they choose to lead, every program. I think everybody here knows that I've always been committed and helped every sport. Every way that I can, whether it's speaking to their team, whether it's talking to their recruits, and I'm certainly going to continue to do that in basketball because, philosophically philosophically, I think there's tremendous amount of exposure in every sport. And for the University of Alabama to take advantage of that in every sport, I think is beneficial to our program, to our university, and to the athletic department as a whole. And, you know, that's part of my goal as being a part of that team. So I'm going to continue to do that in the future with you know, every coach in every sport, and we'll certainly do it with whoever we select to be the new basketball coach.
Last one on the belt.
All right, that was Nick Saban on Tuesday night. And again, you can watch the entire press conference or listen to it, whatever you want to do, back on BamaInsider.com. As I mentioned, we added Mike Johnson, a former Alabama All-American here at Alabama, and also who played offensive line with the Atlanta Falcons, to the staff. He's our football analyst for the 2019 season. And we've been having him on. It's been fantastic. He's been breaking everything down. And he had some interesting comments regarding Ali Cajo and kind of what he expects from Cajo this coming season. It's great stuff. And here's that clip right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's no question. And you guys have seen some of the same film that I have, some of the the video that we put out on Bama Insiders. I don't think that there's any question about his ability. I think you have to ask questions about, some of his absences and some of the, the words that he's put out on social media. But I think the one thing you don't question is his ability. And you watch him go through drills, and obviously he got welcomed back to practice after a couple of days being absent. But even being in the back of the line, being the new guy to the group, being welcomed back into practice, it's very clear to me, watching his foot speed, watching his physicality, watching him run around, that he can be a contributor to this defense. He's not somebody that, was a five-star signee and shows up and they're out of shape and they have a bad attitude. What I've seen of him on film, and I can't wait to see him in person this coming up weekend, he's a guy that really can get it done. And so it's just all going to be about mental preparation for him and whether he can overcome some of the hurdles and he's obviously got in his personal life. But when you turn the film on and watch him move around, boy, his feet move at a different speed that really you only saw from a Dylan Moses in some of those films, or you only saw from some of the elite players. So there's no question to me, can he get it done? Can he step into that role? I think Alabama's defense is a lot better with him in the lineup, but he's got to be mentally prepared for that too, and I think that's the only question out there for me.
Another linebacker that Johnson talked about is 6 foot, 250-pound new freshman Shane Lee. And Shane Lee looks completely jacked at practice. He's repping with the inside linebackers. I personally was curious to see how he moved around and if he did have some athleticism, just because the kid has so much muscle. Here is Mike Johnson on Shane Lee, who's a freshman at Alabama.
How you feel about him, especially him adapting to the defense, and do you think that he could be a major contributor for this year?
Well, I think when you talk about a guy like that, and obviously, the measurables are there, but he's the kind of guy at the inside linebacker position where that's really, really tough to plug in early. Now, the reviews on him have been incredible. I mean, highly ranked player coming out, and you talk to anybody that's seen him, he looks the part. He's a guy that, shows up. But to me, it's just so hard at that inside linebacker position as a true freshman to kind of look at it and say, this guy's going to plug in immediately. There's so much to know, and there's so many checks, and part of playing inside linebacker at Alabama is knowing, where your help's going to be, and knowing where you can move around to, and knowing, where the safeties and corners are going to be behind you, and knowing where, the quarterbacks are going to go with the ball. So I don't have any doubt that he's a guy that could step in when needed and make some plays and do some good things. But I honestly, in my opinion, hope we don't have to rely on him. I hope that there's somebody else that steps up that knows more about the defense. And it's not a knock on Shane Lee. It's just a feeling I have about not having to rely on somebody that doesn't know every single in and out. And it's not that it's impossible for him to learn. He can definitely learn. But, it takes some guys, 3 years.
Again, that was Mike Johnson, who's our football analyst for the springtime. My name is Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. If you're interested to get behind that paywall, as I always say, head on over to BamaInsider.com. Look for the free 30-day trial. Promo code is simply Roll Tide. I also said in the beginning of the program that I want to talk a little bit more about Sal Sinceri. And I keep saying, if you've been reading my articles on BamaInsider.com about the new assistants here at Alabama, Sal Sunseri completely blown me away. Former defensive line coach with the Florida Gators. He coached at Alabama years ago. He's back, and he is absolutely bringing the fire. Last season, in the past couple seasons, Tosh Lupoi worked that position. He was known for bringing the energy. Sal Sunseri, taking it to a whole nother level, has a tremendous amount of experience. Nick Saban really excited about Sal Sunseri, and I can tell why Nick wanted to add Sal Sunseri to this staff, along with guys like Brian Baker, Charles Huff, Holman, Wiggins. A lot more experience, it seems, on the coaching staff. Nick Saban talked about the coaching staff and the new assistants briefly Tuesday night. Here's Saban talking about the new assistant coaches.
The staff changes that you hired a lot of more experienced coaches, it seemed like. And can you tell that out there this spring? Is that something that's sort of translated onto the practice field?
Well, I think that, no disrespect to any of the coaches that we had here before, I thought they did a wonderful job. I think there were a couple areas where we had a limited amount of experience, but and I think that we've been able to improve the staff in a lot of ways with the people that we have and the experience that they have. I thought we needed to improve our staff as a recruiting staff a year ago. I think we did that. I think this recruiting class probably showed that. I think that the guys we hired are good recruiters, but I do think in some cases we have more experience, and I think knowledge and experience is always something that is really beneficial to teach players. So I've been pleased so far with the people that we have and the progress that we've been able to make and how the players have responded to the coaches.
A couple more things as we close out the show. Mel Kiper released his NFL Draft 3.0 predictions, and obviously Quinn Williams, Jonah Williams, Josh Jacobs mentioned in the first round. He also mentioned a couple of spots where other guys project to go in this coming NFL draft. Mack Wilson, former inside linebacker here at Alabama, second round. Deontay Thompson, safety, second round. Damien Harris, second round. That's interesting because we've seen Damien flop around from the fourth, third round. I think his NFL combine really increased his stock. So Damien has, going in the second round, according to Kiper, Isaiah Buggs, a fourth round, Christian Miller, fourth or fifth round. We continue to track the Alabama basketball coaching search. You can follow our coverage on BamaInsider.com. Kind of to give you a recap, a rundown of where things stand on Monday, March 25th. Greg Byrne, the athletic director at Alabama, announced that Avery Johnson is out. He held the press conference. And shortly after that, Dazon Ingram announced that he is transferring. Now, yesterday, Steve Prohm, who was a candidate or supposedly a candidate for Alabama, signed an extension with Iowa State, so he is out. And later in the day, Kyra Lewis, Alabama's freshman guard, entered the NCAA transfer portal. Now remember, just because you enter the NCAA transfer portal does not mean that you are transferring, just kind of keeping his options open. So we continue to keep track of the Alabama coaching change and some potential roster shakeups with the Crimson Tide. There's also some interesting news on Trenton Watford, who Alabama is recruiting from the class of 2020. My name is Kyle Henderson at BamaInsider.com. You can catch all our coverage back on the website. Thank you for following on YouTube. Be sure and like and subscribe. Please remember to follow us on Twitter at Bama Insider on Twitter, and same on Facebook, all the same on Instagram. If you have any customer service related questions, you can email me at kyle@BamaInsider.com. Wear many different hats on BamaInsider.com. The team is made up of Andrew Bone, recruiting, Tony Sukalis, our team writer, Mike Johnson, our football analyst, myself, managing editor. We will catch you soon, and reporting always from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This is Kyle Henderson of the BamaInsider.com podcast.